Well, hello there. This is Vitriol's Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. I'm about to go on a trip to Brisbane, so I'm just making this video the night before, and I think you'll like it. Won't be a few videos for a few days after this. This game will look at the fried liver attack, but specifically from the point of view of black. So how does one play against the fried liver attack? This will not cover any specific line, but some of the tactical ideas and motifs that allows black to counter this fearsome line. Now, what is the fried liver attack? Well, let's look from the perspective of white first. So it starts out of the Italian, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, very normal, Italian, the bishop to c4, and if white plays the two knights defense, we immediately leap forward with our knight to g5, the knight attack. Here, very commonly, one of the most common moves by black is to strike in the center, and here we now capture this way with a chain attack on that knight. One of the most common responses by black here will be to take, and with that we now have knight sacrifice, brilliant move, and this is the fried liver attack. After king captures, we bring our queen out, and it's really bad for black, potentially. It's really difficult for black to play. When you look at the Lichess community database, white practically wins from this position 2-1. It's a very good attack for white. So this is the fried liver. So the knight sacrifice is technically the fried liver attack move, but even all the way from here, the knight attack, that's practically the beginning. That's the beginning of white trying the fried liver attack. Now, the fried liver attack is actually one of the oldest traps opening attacks that's been documented in chess. And in fact, when I looked at the Lumbras Gigabase, which is a really massive database of games, something like 13 million games, the very first game of this position was over 400 years ago by Giuoco Piano. So a really old opening trap. Have a look at the article that's linked in the description that comes with this video. I cover a little bit on the history of the fried liver. All right, so this is what white wants. So what do we do for black? Now, when I was a beginner, and I think still the case for many beginners, the fried liver has such a fearsome reputation. It's so good that many people with the backclippers as a beginner completely avoid the two knights defense so that they don't encounter it. So in fact, I used to play something like entering into the Giuoco Piano lines, even though I didn't really like them. However, playing the two knights is perfectly good. And so when white now plays the knight attack, so trying to go down into the fried liver, one of the things that we can potentially recognize is that white's attack is actually quite unbalanced. All the pieces are potentially sort of really far forward, and they don't really have much of a defense on their side. And what this leaves white susceptible to is a counterattack. And there are sort of three really good counterattacks by black. And when you, again, look at the Lichess community database, the counterattacks are completely winning for black, even though, according to evaluation, they're not so good. They're completely winning from a win ratio perspective. The move I used to really like playing was the Ponziani Steinitz Gambit, where we immediately take, and if they continue with this attack, we then now counterattack black's king. Really good, really winning. So that's one option. Another option is to play the Traxler counterattack, which is immediately with the bishop. And again, if they now take, we sacrifice the bishop, and basically this draws king into this position, and then we give check, we bring our queen into the attack. Again, we counterattack white with our own attack because white's defenses are relatively weak. Now, the third line, which is actually really good as a counterattack, is what I now like playing, which is actually the Fritz variation in the two knights defense. So that looks something like this. So after, here we go. So in this position, what we do is that we push d5, which is actually the main line, the classical line. Effectively, white is probably thinking, oh, they're going to play into the fried liver, so they're almost always going to attack here. But here we now play knight to d4. And potentially what that looks like is, okay, they're going to try to do a double attack, move that forward, takes, and then knight with an attack. And then if they take this way, we play here, hitting the rook. If rook tries to escape, because it looks pretty dreadful, we now have check, and it's almost game over. How are they going to block the check? Queen or bishop, almost always it will be bishop, and that is a very, very fantastic smothered mate. So Fritz variation, really, really winning, but as we can see, once again, it is making a counter-attack on white's king. So we don't try to defend, we counter-attack. Now, notionally, here we go, in this position, the best move for black is, according to evaluation, is in fact the Polario defense. Same Polario, which is knight to the edge of the board this way. This leads to quite a complicated positional game. It is potentially the best move for black. However, I don't really like to play it. That's not my style. Swashbuckling, romantic attacks, really, really winning. And in fact, even though this is the most accurate, black is not quite as successful in terms of win ratio as some of those other lines. So in this game, in this position, I was planning on playing the Fritz. But I was a bit distracted in this game. I think I was speaking to someone at the same time. So I had it in my mind that I had to move a knight, and then I moved the wrong knight. So in fact, I captured this way, which is a mistake. Indeed, going down the line, this allows for the fried liver attack proper. It's a brilliant move. And the best move for black in this position is in fact to capture. It's in fact to capture, get the material back, and then accept this attack, which is coming. But white is very good here, and this attack is potentially very strong. And what they're trying to do is they're giving up material for the initiative, for the attack, for position. And so my idea here was, I'm not going to give them that, and I'm going to launch a counterattack. And in fact, very similar ideas to the Ponziani-Steinitz gambit. I play queen to h4. It's technically a mistake. Look at that, white's way ahead. But I'm trying to get the initiative. I'm trying to launch the attack. Here, I'm basically hanging 8 points of material. Neither of these pieces are defended. I'm foregoing, winning back material. And of course, white probably thinks I've gone mad, so they're after material. That's okay. I'm gambiting pieces, gambiting material to get the attack. This gives me the step of tempo to allow for a second developing move, and now I've got an immediate scholar's mate type attack. Now, the best move here for white is, in fact, to short castle. More advanced players will see that, but it's not that easy a move to play because it looks like you're castling into a kingside attack, which often is not such a good idea. Now, white will already be, primed to play queen to f3 because that's a very, very natural and normal move in a fried liver attack. And when I had a look at my opponent with the white pieces on opening tree, they've played the fried liver attack with white like something over 1,000 times, 1,200 times. This is their main repertoire, actually, with white. So here, they're going to be thinking about queen f3, and indeed, they play it. However, in this position, once again, we use the idea from the Ponziani-Steinitz gambit. Queen's knight, very powerful, to d4, and this now wins tempo once again. I bring another attacker tempo, hitting the queen, but also hitting the c2 pawn. And of course, that comes with an absolute fork of the king and rook. Now, the problem here for white is that this is still there. So the queen can't just go back to d1 because I can potentially, force a check here, and then that looks really bad. So white has a long think, and then they play a move which is very sensible. The best move for white in this position is actually queen to g3, practically forcing a trade of queens, nerfing my attack. Not the most obvious move. Here, white finds what seems like a very sensible move, and in fact the move is potentially quite okay. Queen to e4. The logic, offer trade of queens, defending that c2 square, threatening a check. So this looks like a great move. However, it's a problem. And it's a problem of their tactical vision, effectively. So this seems like it defends c2. But the issue is there is no defense. That defense is an illusion, because here I take, forces, a check. White must respond. White here has 4 legal moves. Queen capture, or the king can move. 3 legal squares it can move. Can you see what the best move is? Did you find it? The best move, and the only move that allows white to maintain their advantage, is king d1, allowing the loss of the rook. Now, white is ahead of material, and so this loss aversion bias can potentially be really strong. They really don't want to do that. This is not an intuitive move. It's a counterintuitive move. The second best move, which already moves the game back to equality, is even more counterintuitive. It's bong clouding the king to e2. That is 0, 0, 0. It looks wrong. It looks like it's potentially exposing the king to an attack, but that's 0, 0, 0. Now, the third king move is clearly a mistake because that hangs mate in 1, scholar's mate. The most natural move, of course, and of course white moved the queen here to defend that square, is queen captures. But it's a blunder. Checkmate in 7. Their attacking pieces are too far forward, can't defend. No defenders on the king side. And this is what I actually saw at the beginning. I didn't see the entire line. Queen captures, check, king forced into that position. And now another idea from the Ponziani-Steinitz gambit, the light square bishop to g4 with check. This is mate, effectively, so they have to block with their bishop. And now captures, 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 absolute fork. And you notice that white now has no defenders, pawns or pieces from the E file to the G file. And this is a mate in 3. Now, in this position, I didn't actually find the best move, but this is the line I should have played. There's a really good pattern here, a combination between bishop and queen. This is a pattern that I'll remember, and maybe you'll take something out of this as well. The way to mate is firstly check with the bishop, and you'll notice only one move for the king, forced move, and now the bishop jumps out of the way this way, only one square left for the king here, and now the queen steps forward, and that is mate. So that is the mate I should have seen. However, I didn't see that. I didn't think too hard in this position, and I immediately just took the rook and gave a check. So relative inaccuracy, but actually at high depth, there is still a mate that's no longer than 21 moves, according to high depth Stockfish. So obviously, 21 move checkmate, very, very difficult to see, but effectively I've completely demolished white's kingside pieces and pawns. Here, check. Here, I give a check, and here, now in this position, obviously they've got an attack on the bishop. Stockfish says the best move for black is that we can actually sacrifice a bishop and to give, in fact, another check. I think check like this. However, in this move, I didn't want to do that. I wasn't convinced that losing that bishop was correct, so I decided to move my queen this way. So still completely winning. It's about minus 5.5 on high depth stockfish, so still winning, but I don't have forced mate. In this position, white needs to do something forcing, so I think they have to move either the king to b3 or move or give a check, even though, you know, that can be blocked, so apparently that's the best move. But here, white decides to gobble up that rook. That's a blunder. You can see those are the best moves because I move the queen there because it can now coordinate along the dark squares with my bishop. So queen to a d4, check. King can go either to b3 or b5, either square, it doesn't matter. In either position, queen to b4 is still mate. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is that white playing the fried liver attack or attempting it is often weak to a swashbuckling counterattack. The good lines to play include the Ponziani-Steinitz gambit, the Traxler counterattack, and especially the Fritz variation of the two knights defense. But as we saw in this game, even if you play inaccurately or with a counterattack, it's often still very, very good and very winning. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.